Hello everyone, this is the Mega Construx ProBuilder Viking Longship Raid set. It comes with 995 pieces. ProBuilder is basically a label for a sub-brand that Mega originally had used back in the, I believe, 1990s, the late 90s, or at least the early 2000s, for their really display-oriented, more advanced level sets. And they've just brought back that name to use it for their collector level non-licensed sets. So this is being built, or was being built and designed to the same standards as their licensed stuff for the collector lines like Call of Duty and Halo and Destiny. It's just for original or relatively original material. Of course, Mega Construx did not invent the Vikings, nor the Viking longboats like this, but they did design this set on their own completely in-house and just tried to use historical references for this. So they did go in a realistic direction for sure. They tried to make this something that would be believable, something that would work on display, something that people of all ages could be proud to have on display as a representation of something from history. And with almost 1,000 pieces, they were able to get a good amount of detail in it and, surprisingly, a good amount of interactability with the figures and playability in that sense. As usual, there are no stickers in this set, so anything that looks like a decoration is actually printed. So you've got a couple of printed pieces on the side of the neck and head of this mystical sea serpent used up here. You can actually change the angle of the mouth a little bit, bring the tongue down if you want to, just a bit, with how it's built. These pieces are mirrored from side to side, so those have identical prints on the other sides. They're just mirrored pieces, which made it a little bit more expensive for them to even make this. These pieces on the bow here are actually printed on both sides. So that's something that's not particularly common in this industry. Fairly intricate there. The build was not really that difficult. It definitely took some time. It used an array of different techniques, but nothing too fantastic, nothing too special, nothing that after building lots and lots of the Mega Halo sets and like I said, Call of Duty and Destiny sets, nothing that surprised me, nothing that seemed entirely new. I also didn't seem to recognize any new pieces in the build of the ship itself. Everything seemed to come from the existing line. Some of the gaps aren't quite perfect, like right there. You see the a little bit of the light coming through there. I can squeeze that together just a little bit more, but it's not able to go all the way in quite to the level that I would like. But this sub-assembly here on either side actually fits in pretty well for how it's done. It's actually not on a hinge joint. It's actually solidly connected in there, done differently from these pieces that are just attached horizontally for the main center planks. These are all printed. Every single shield has its own design, and those can actually be taken off and used with the minifigures themselves, so you can kind of pick and choose there. I found it very frustrating and simultaneously delightful to do a little bit of rigging for the sail here. You actually tie up the string to the front, and then you also tie up a few back here, and the sail itself can actually be brought down. You need to get these tied to just the right length and with a good amount of tension so that they'll be fairly straight. It's not particularly easy to do that. It may take a little bit of trial and error for that. You can actually bring the sail down by loosening one of those, and you can roll it up to have it in a pure rowing mode. The deck doesn't have a whole lot of detail. This is an interesting piece. Actually, I may not have seen this before. It's actually a rubbery part. It can be held by a figure in a hand there with that bar-shaped little indentation on the side. And it's hollow, interestingly. It just fits over a 2x2 space. So I think that may actually be the one piece that is definitely brand new in the build. They used a bunch of new pieces for the figures as well. That chest there can actually be pulled out, but it's a little bit difficult when you have the full canopy up. Now this canopy itself can be rolled up like the sail. You just pull off these hollow studs, one there and one down there. You can roll the whole thing up and then use these kind of rubber bands basically to wrap it all up. Gives you a little more access to the inside space there, but like I said, there's really not all that much else to see. Those chests are pieces that we've seen before. There's nothing inside of them right now, but you can place your figure accessories in there if you want. If you want to put some of your figures in here actually doing the rowing. There are just a couple more of those rubbery small chest pieces, and that's mostly it for the deck detail. Definitely a little bit down on detail from what I was expecting there, but I mean, honestly, these ships weren't all that complex. They didn't have a lot of amenities or anything. I think one thing this could have done for is actually a little bit more in the way of rigging for lines, but what is there, like I said, did take some time and did feel good. I'd like to do more of that, even though it does require a good amount of patience. Over here is your single rudder, and that can actually be steered because it is on a ball joint off to the side, and you can have a figure hooked up to hold on to this. Again, it's just bar size there, and it just uses an oar end. That's the same piece that's used for all of them all the way down the sides. These are not securely attached right now. They're kind of just holding themselves in place with just a bit of a stopper used there, and so they can fall out. So it's just kind of stopping itself right up against the bulwarks there, but that is the easiest thing to become a frustration if you're moving this around, so you want to be careful. Or you could just or you could just take all of those when you don't want to be using them. You can take all of them and just stack them right up here along the side if you want. Probably the one thing that I'm least impressed with and least satisfied with here is the shaping of the sail. It's not very easy to get it into a realistic kind of wind-blown shape. You can move these side connectors in and out and also up and down a bit to try to change the tension and how it shapes the sail, the one sail, but kind of at the mercy. It's never able to get fully lined up, so you're kind of at the mercy of the shape that you're able to put into the sail itself and try to get it to hold that shape. There are some ways I was able to get it to be just a little bit rounder at the base. That's just something that's important to me. It always has been in models of sailing ships. I want to be able to have it look like it's actually being blown by the wind. I mean, of course, these types of ships could, I mean, that's a little bit closer there. These types of ships could only run with the wind, so there wasn't all that much they could do in terms of reaching. I guess they could reach just a little bit. Turn this off to the side ever so slightly, but again, as you try to take it over into a reach, you're limited by the range of motion here, and things are starting to change in shape in weird ways, so that's just not entirely satisfying to me, just to get that little extra bit of realism, like it's actually working. Even right now, you can see that the yard is actually being pulled down a little bit too much, so that's not quite a comfortable position. That's really my only qualm with the whole thing. You know how I said I wish there was more rigging though? Well, the level of detail and the number of new pieces with these figures more than makes up for that. I think they went farther than they needed to with these, and I very much appreciate it. They have reused some of the pieces from the Assassin's Creed line, but only some. Many of these parts are brand new as far as I can tell. The kind of mohawk element over here is a separate piece that actually gets attached to the head. The helmet can be removed, and they use the same helmet through a number of these figures, and they use the full super articulated skeleton, so you can really get these to be set up in all sorts of different ways. Some of them actually have tattoos. The whole mail here, the whole armor is heavily, very, very heavily washed with a greasy gloss black. Unfortunately, they just missed, when they're producing this one in particular, just missed that edge over there. Hopefully most of them won't have that kind of mist, but At least this is a fairly easy one to correct. You have the sash underneath as well, that silicone piece from the Assassin's Creed line that allows you to sheath a sword down in there. But really good looking figures. The one on the left here, going by the descriptions on the website, not on the box, they don't have anything on the box, but the one on the left is a hand, and the guy on the right is known as a helmsman. You can change their roles however you want, of course. The figure on the left here is supposed to be the skipper, and on the right is another hand, and those get some tattoos as well. I think they did the lady figure really well here. I mean, it's very obvious from a distance that it's a female torso, but it's not too exaggerated. You know, I think that it works well with the longbow there. The quiver, oh wow, look at that print, huh? The quiver actually has real arrows in it, and you can pose this with those arrows. They're a little bit flexible, but you can get them to set up properly, and they've even got a spot where you can really hold on to it with a hand, or get that around the string back here, which is a silicone piece, so you can get that to really lock in there, and they've got the channels for it and everything to really be properly set up. So again, two good looking, well done figures. The lower part, kind of skirt part, is a fairly silicone type piece. You know, it's fairly flexible. About the same for the cape back here, about the same for the lower kind of olive colored piece here. This upper kind of vest is a little bit harder, just slightly. Still a little bit flexible, so it's not going to break if you put it on and take it off. You don't need to remove the head to put that on and take it off. This hairpiece it's just part of the head mold, but for the others they use the smaller, newer style of hole. So there is a hole on the tops of each of these heads, but at least they're not the huge ones like we originally got in the first Assassin's Creed figure line. Here on the left is a journeyman, and on the right is a holoman, a term that I personally have not been familiar with at all in the past. I really like this kind of chainmail covered upper arm piece, and I also like the teal color for a number of the parts there. Oh yeah, these spears are actually built so you can remove the head. It's just a long bar with a head at the end. Similarly, the hatchets on the last hand I showed you are just short bars with axe heads on them. And then of course, speaking of heads, these helmets can be removed. The helmets look pretty good because they are actually dark silver. Actually, it's more of a medium silver, but with a nice flat black application, very generous application of flat black that lets some of the metallic color come through, metallic shine, but it still has a very realistic finish to it. I think could have used some dirt on these faces, I guess, but I don't mind. You can always add that yourself. Gives you a little bit of contrast and lets you see just how clean these heads and faces really are in terms of, you know, how they're constructed and how they're produced. Same pieces used otherwise for most of the parts between these two here, but different colors and different paint applications. Here are the figures actually posed up on the ship in various roles, and you may want to remove some of the flappy bits, the lower kind of coattail parts from the figures that are sitting to make them a little bit easier to pose there, especially when they get in tandem, but I was able to fit them in nevertheless without removing anything. It's very convenient to have the kind of rubbery pieces that can move out of the way, and there's enough space for their legs and everything, so you can make this look kind of right. We just desperately now need a figure pack, just a really well designed figure pack with these same figures or these same parts, these same molds reused with just different colors, so that we can mix and match and make up our own troops and really fill out the deck, have every single oar manned should we choose, and, you know, just randomize the parts, pop and swap between different figures to make it look a little bit more proper, you know, to have this thing fully ready to go into battle. What we have here is good, but we do need a little bit of expansion, I think, because they're off to a good start here for sure. This picture on the back of the box shows you what I was talking about, how you can fully roll up the sail and the canopy as well and get all the oars up on deck just to basically store the thing, have it all dock ready. This to me is not at all an expectation shattering type of set, and that's because I've built lots and lots of Mega Construx and previously Mega Blocks collector level sets. This is not particularly better than the best that they've done before, but it is still very near top of the line in the industry on the whole. The selection of prints they give us, what you can do with the figures, just how you can pose them up, the fact that you actually have to tie some knots and cut some string and everything to set everything up properly, the fact that it has an actual cloth sail and cloth canopy as well. The things they've done with this figure in particular, with the bow, the arrows, and the quiver, really, really nice. These pieces that are printed on both sides, also pretty deluxe. So just really good, a really well done set. Like I said, not too difficult to put together, just takes some quality time and some patience. So there you have it. That's my look at this set for now, and hopefully they'll come out with at least one figure pack, so I'll be able to do exactly what I suggested and pop and swap and fill up that deck, and I'll let you see what the ship looks like with a whole bunch of folks on it, when and if that is able to happen at some point in the future. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.